Good morning. So scaling up without screwing up, or rather, whatever you want to call it, is the theme of my topic today. So we all start up. We are mouse at that time. We try to get faster, better, larger. But very soon we end up at the stage where we are an elephant, or we are slow, bumbling, too slow for the others to catch up with, and we want to avoid that from happening. So we read all these books, right? All of us, I have read these books. I'm sure you have heard of these books. I wanted to distill some thoughts from these books and add to it my own experience of being with Zoho for the past 21 years. We started as a very small team of 7 employees in a garage, and now I manage a team myself of more than 103 employees. So it's kind of exploded, and I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. So seen through that lens, all the wisdom from these books is what I'm going to share with you. A brief note about Zoho first. We have been around for 21 years. We have around 5,000 employees. 35 plus applications for the length and breadth of your organization's needs, and across the world, 25 million users. We call ourselves the operating system for business. So we have products for HR department, your sales department, your marketing department, customer support, CRM, you name it, there is a product from Zoho where we can automate and improve the productivity of that particular aspect of your business. So you just get to focus on improving your business alone, right? Everything else is automated, taken to the cloud, and available as an easily ramp-up software kit. We are next door at S24. We welcome you to take a look and meet our people. So I look at it as 3 aspects. So you scale people, you scale ideas, and you scale your launches. So let's first look at people. By people, I mean the employees in your company, in your team. So most of us all know we go through exams and interviews like this, right? There's a person who says, all of you, I'm going to be very fair, and I'm going to give you an exam. I'm going to see who wins that test, right? And they say, climb the tree, right? So what's the goldfish going to do? The monkey is going to win it every time. So interviews basically lie. We have seen over and over again that achievers at work and achievement at college level or school level, there is no correlation whatsoever. In fact, we see more and more people blooming in their second innings at their jobs who didn't really get a good exposure or didn't get a good launch pad at college. So basically, interviews lie. We depend on other alternative means. One such mean we depend on, which we encourage you strongly to, is look for people who scratch their own itch, right? Don't give them assignments, don't give them tests and time-bound evaluation systems. Instead, look for what did they feel pained about, what did they not stop until they achieved it, what did they keep scratching at, some personal itch. Because this personal itch has an amazing trio of things going for it. The first thing is, you can't stop until you finish scratching, right? You'll have to keep scratching. Nobody else is going to help you scratch it, right? And you'll do anything to scratch it. So these 3 things work very well. And I often ask my team members, the people who apply for a job in my company, what personal itch have you scratched? You have a mobile phone, you have an internet connection. What amazing stuff did you try creating just for yourself, for a marketplace of one? Right? That's a good question to ask. Pay unfairly. Please put away the normal distribution bell curve. Pay unfairly. There are going to be top performers in your team who are going to blow everybody else out of water. They should be probably paid 10x, not 1.5x or 2x. And talking about payment, there is this famous TED talk by Daniel Pink, where he talks about beyond a particular point, the salary and the other monetary benefits you give somebody is actually no longer useful to push the person forward. He talks about 3 aspects which you should instead focus on. The first thing is give them a sense of autonomy, that they are doing something that they chose to do, that they are doing something that is aligned with their passion. They were allowed and encouraged to do it. The second is a sense of mastery, a way for them to keep at it, keep improving it until they reach mastery. Clear the way for them, for their autonomy to align itself towards mastery. And the third is we are all afraid of death. We are all afraid of going away. We want to leave a legacy. We want to leave something behind. So co-opt them and give them an opportunity and make them feel that they are part of a big picture. They are part of something much larger than they can do individually. They are part of a big mission that they cannot probably do alone, but they are in a team which is aligned in that mission. And very soon, you're going to end up in a state where as you grow up, probably you're an all-male team, you'll probably keep collecting more and more males in your team. And suddenly you will find your 40 employees all male. The 41st one will find it so hard to get in. The same is true the other case too. If you're an all-girls team, probably 3 or 4 girls coming together to start a startup is amazing. But 25 girls, the first guy who joins finds it very difficult. And there is this amazing yin-yang aspect to it. The thinking, the process they come up with is very different. So ensure that your team is gender equal, gender neutral. We grew like this. It was all organic. One statement that we kind of internalized all along was, keep putting pressure on the teams. Let them bend, not break, right? So ensure that there is enough pressure. There is so much to do, so few people to do it, but don't let them break. Keep bending though. As team sizes grow, you will notice that the number of intercommunications keep going up. If there are only 2 people, only 2 channels of intercommunication. But 3 people makes it 6, and 4 people makes it 24. So the easy, foolproof approach we all take is, if there are a lot of people like this, probably put them in silos, right? Break them up. That's this department, this is that department, and so on. What's crucially missed here, what happened even in Microsoft is they start fighting among each other. They commit harakiri, they commit suicide. So what's crucially important here is intercommunication between teams, cross-pollination of ideas. So ensure you adopt products like Slack, for example, where these things happen smoothly. They flow without any friction. Ideas, concepts, the innovation should flow between teams. And when scaling up, there is this no man's land you are in between the great, amazing times of pizza lunches and late night coding efforts where you were just 10 people in a small room. That was the past. And there is this glorious future where you're going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg, next multi-billion-dollar company. But the current time you are in sucks, right? So as a manager, as a team leader, what's expected of you is keep telling stories of the past. They weren't there when you did all those. And keep building up images of the future so that people forget the current junk they are going through. And do not, there is this squeaky wheel all the time. There will be that one person who complains about stuff. Do not oil that squeaky wheel. Because oiling the squeaky wheel will only solve the problem of the squeak. It will not solve the problem why the squeak happened. So dig down to the second layer, find out why that person is complaining, what is ailing him or her, and dig deeper. Do not oil the squeaky wheel. There are so many lessons we learn about bosses versus leaders. 2 things stick out. Leaders actually encourage growth, while bosses just get things done using the others. And leaders actually ask questions and let others come up with amazing ideas, while bosses just command and dictate. Just last week, we had this in our office, where teams were growing in size, and a lot of new initiatives were coming up, and we had to do resource management. One approach we took was, we said, that will be done, this will be done, this will be done. Showed the roadmap to the team members. The other approach we took was, we said, no teams should be larger than this size. No teams should be doing duplicate work. So we laid out ground rules to the traffic. We did not put up the roads. Instead, we said ground rules to the traffic. They came up with ideas. They surprised us. So that's something we constantly encourage new teams who are scaling up to do. Give them the full freedom. Be the obstacle remover as a manager. Let them surprise you with their innovation. Now, scaling ideas. So when you get up with ideas, you're usually, as a startup, you are in this 0 to 1 stage where everything you do, 3 days later is amazing. 3 more days later, it's even better, and so on. But when you're scaling up, you are further down the curve. So incremental, evolutionary rather than explosive and revolutionary. So keep that in mind. Things would not change overnight. You need to give it gestation time. So here is a question. What's the length of the Singapore coastline? Anybody? So as you see from the spacecraft, Google Maps, it's 190 kilometers. But is that the right answer? If you zoom further down to the aeroplane's level, what do you think it is? Bays and marinas will start becoming visible now. What do you think it is from a bird's point of view? It's even further down. Buildings, individual buildings are visible. From a man's point of view, what do you think is the coastline of Singapore? And further down, from an ant's point of view, every blade of grass is a mountain to climb. So as you cross scales, if you use a 10-kilometer rod to measure the Singapore's coastline, it will be 190 kilometers. But you use a 5-meter rod, it is 5,000 kilometers, because every nook and cranny becomes interesting and becomes explorable. So the thing is, it depends on the length of the measuring rod. Do you think if I change the rod smaller and smaller, eventually it will converge? Not at all so. It doesn't converge. Keep making the rod smaller and smaller, it doesn't converge. The answer could be arbitrarily large. There's a whole science to it. It's called fractals. What does fractals have to do with business? The idea is we look at business, the landscape of business, as fractals. Right? So you can keep looking at things, you can keep digging further. A small module can become a project, can become a whole domain, can become a whole industry. It's all about looking for interestingness. So there was this selfie. That strange looking angle that a photograph was taken. And then there was this selfie stick, right? A new kind of device that was invented. Somewhere else, somebody was doing a drone, right? Automated thing that could fly up in the air and do photography. So these things were mashed up together and we got the selfie drone, right? So this is the pursuit of interestingness that I'm talking about. Do not look for uniformity. Do not look for replaceability. Do not look for people you can replace with other people. Look instead for uniqueness. Which city is this skyline from? Can you guess? But now you can. This one? But now you can. This one? But now you can. And this one? Now you can. What am I pointing out here is look for interestingness. Look for doing something different. People sign up not for your product, but for who you are and what you can build next. So do not lose that aspect of your company's DNA as you grow larger. Right? These 5 fingers were not evolved as 5 similar fingers. They were evolved each with a different role. The little finger, I think it was just perfectly sized for putting into your ear. Right? Repetition with variation. That's the whole idea. When you were small, you were doing emulation. You were trying to become like another company. You tried to become a little better than that company, and then you tried to eat that company up. So that was your 3-part formula. Emulate, enhance, and exterminate. Instead, today, as we grow, it should instead be refine, right? All the things that we have done, look back, refine, and then reimagine what can we do it different. So 40 years email has been around. How much has it changed though? It's all about inbox, outbox, sent mail, right? So meet Zoho's stand next tomorrow, today probably, and learn about how we are reimagining email and reinventing. That's been the idea. And somehow, if you can make this happen, whatever product you're building, if you can somehow bake it into what you do day to day, right? Eat your own dog food, the growth of the product is really assured because you don't need to wait for it to go live. You don't need to wait for disappointment from the public market. So when you come up with scaling launches, right? You have been doing launches, good launches every couple of weeks, every couple of days sometimes when you're a startup. But over time, you'll realize that your startup launches are slowly drying out. Dropbox, for example. Where is the next product from Dropbox? Why is it not around? Here is my theory why. So when you come up with ideas and you're ready to put it up out there, you have shined it to perfection, you're all done, you have tested it. But there are these three layers in the brain. One is the higher level thinking brain, which is the primate brain, the monkey brain. The other is the mammal brain, which is filled with emotions. But deep down, there is something called the amygdala. It's the fight or flight syndrome, and that's the survival brain. So simply based on the amazing launch you had a couple of months ago on that product, you don't want to launch another product because you can't match up to that amazing launch. You're afraid what that blogger is going to write. You're concerned who is going to tweet about, oh, those glory days of Dropbox are gone. Right? So this kinds of starting to eat into you and you slow things down. That's something to guard against. You become a perfectionist, right? Somebody asks you to mow a lawn, you start doing this. When will you finish? Remember that Leonardo himself said, art is never finished. You just abandon it. He took 12 years to finish Mona Lisa's lips, it seems. So the concept here is people are not buying your product, they are buying your process. You're not buying an iPhone, you're buying the unibody, aluminum and steel, glass magic that goes into it. If Apple comes up with another product with aluminum, steel and glass, you will just go and buy it. So you're not buying the product, you're buying the process. So the best thing to do is use your process, get it out, get feedback fast, and fail fast and keep improving that. You know who wrote this book? Robert Galbraith's The Cuckoo's Calling? Somebody? J.K. Rowling. She was so afraid of not being able to reproduce her success, she took a pen name, a male name. And it became a success, by the way. It was a bestseller book. Right? Look at this website, whatdog.net. It's a mobile app. You can point a camera at a dog, and it'll tell you what breed of dog it is. Look at this website. Look at this app. It's a mimicker alarm. So every time you set an alarm, you wake up, it'll tell you to do something. It'll say, show me a happy face. It'll say, what is the product of 2 times 73? Right? Which company do you think brought these apps in? Any guesses? Whatdog.net? Mimicker alarm? You'll be surprised. It's from Microsoft. So afraid that people will label it as a business software company which is 40 years old. And no kid who is energetic and enthusiastic to build something amazing will join the company anymore. Microsoft launched the Microsoft Garage. So this is another way to actually stay small, think agile, while you are very large. Right? So real artists ship. And the biggest fear is not, as you're scaling up, is not some very large company is going to come and eat you up. This is your biggest fear. That one of those 100 startups here is going to bite at your heels and eat you up. So look at your competition right, scale your ideas well, scale your people well, and do your launches frequently. Thank you. I'm at S24.